Good evening everyone, I am Vishal Salsekar and today we are going to discuss the news today articles for 12th and 13th of October, right? So in today's discussion, we are going to cover 5 articles in detail, which includes the articles like the Maitri 2 research station that is about to be commenced, like the timeline that has been provided now is for 2029. So from 2029, Maitri 2 is expected to become operational. We'll see regarding the Maitri 2, we will also see regarding the Antarctica as a continent, right? The next article is about India's disease burden shift. So there have been a recent World Health Summit, and in that particular summit, it was highlighted that there has been a shift to the non-communicable diseases. So we will see why that particular shift is taking place, and we will also discuss about the non-communicable diseases and certain other trends regarding that. Okay. Next is regarding the research development and the innovation scheme, which is also known as RDI scheme. Now, I think on July 1st, we had discussed in detail about this particular scheme because the cabinet had approved certain important scheme on that particular day, and that we had discussed. But today we are also again going to see regarding this particular research development and innovation scheme. Along with that, Anusandhan National Research Foundation. Regarding that also we are going to see in detail. The next important article is 2 major agricultural schemes that were launched. So we have already discussed about Pradhan Mantri Dhan Dhanya Yojana, and apart from that, there has been also a scheme regarding Atmanirbharta in Pulse that have been right now launched. So we will going to discuss about those particular things. Last in this is the ecological connectivity and the land restoration. So there have been a IUCN detailed discussion regarding this, that how we have altered the entire planet. So basically when we are talking about, let's say, the construction and many other things, we have changed those particular processes which used to be there previously, like the flow of river or maybe any specific region, right? So we will discuss about how this particular concept of the ecological connectivity is there, and also we'll talk about the land restoration. Also in that we will discuss regarding what are the changes that we had done and the issues because of that, right? So these are the 5 important articles that we will discuss in today's discussion in a detailed manner. Apart from that, there will be also discussion regarding the Egypt in the places in news, and along with that there are certain other quick updates that we will see mainly from the prelims perspective. So let's start the discussion with the very first article regarding the Union Finance Ministry, which had granted the approval for the Maitri 2 mission, which is the new research station in the eastern Antarctica. Now see, whenever there is discussion regarding Arctic or Antarctica, generally there are chances that you may get confused, because basically both are the regions which are the polar regions, right? Some way or other there have been similar kind of conditionalities that are being observed, though Antarctica is a kind of like continent, and in the context of Arctic it is a sea area. When we talk about the differentiation between Arctic and the Antarctica, the Arctic has been governed by the Arctic Council, where the countries which are lying partially or completely in the Arctic circle, those particular countries are having the governing rights also. They discuss how that particular region should be governed. But when we talk about Antarctica, it is one of the global commons. And when we will talk about this has to be taken into consideration, that there should not be any colonization of the regions like Antarctica. Now, when we will talk from the perspective of UPSC examination, why it is important, because when you will read the general studies syllabus in the paper 1 in geography section, the physical geography of the world and the climatic region which are part of that, and in that obviously you are going to see the climatology perspective, say the regions like the polar regions, right? Apart from that, the geography like the continental geography, and apart from that, when we will talk about the GS paper 2, India and its neighborhood and the relation with major power, because when it is going to be operating in the global commons, obviously there is going to be a collaboration with different countries. We have seen in the context of NISAR also, which is the NASA ISRO synthetic aperture radar, right? Apart from that, GS paper 3 also science, environment, technology, because this is in a way the technology demonstration related things, and also to understand the environment of that particular region, and also to equip ourselves in order to solve our own local problems with understanding of that particular climatic condition, right? Now, talking about the highlights of this particular topic, when we are talking about Maitri, so basically it is a fourth mission that will be there for Antarctica. That means there must be 3 missions prior to this. So the first mission that India had launched from the Antarctica's perspective was Dakshina Gangotri. So this Dakshina Gangotri was basically the name taken from the Gangotri region in India, and in that context it was launched in 1983. So roughly 1983-84 mein it became operational, and it continued till 1990. And within that particular duration, the Maitri 1 or Maitri was commenced in 1989. So these were the early 2 operations that India had launched in the Antarctica region in order to understand the climate, in order to understand the species, in order to understand the freshwater resources also. Because that is a glacial region where one of the largest resources as far as the freshwater resources are concerned that are situated. Right. Then in 2012 there was Bharti, which was commissioned, right? So it was the 3rd observatory, we can say, from the perspective of Antarctica. Now in the comments you have to tell me that when we talk about Arctic, which is the India's observatory or station in the Arctic region. We are talking about the Antarctica. You have to tell me regarding the Arctic region also. We are having the project regarding Arctic also. So the Maitri 2 is going to be the 4th operation, or we can say the 4th observatory from the perspective of Antarctica. Now when we talk about this is going to be the green research base. When we talk about right now that there are technological demonstration in order to go for the green technologies. For example, let's say when there will be an observatory or when there is going to be a station, that particular station will need power. How you are going to generate that power? If that particular power is coal generated, obviously that is not the green one, right? So in the case of the green research base, it is going to utilize the power or basically the energy resource in the form of the renewable energy resource or the green resource. For example, wind, for example, solar. So from these, there is going to be the energy that is going to be provided. And also it is going to be the house which is having the automated instrument. So basically, see, there will be obviously people that are going to reside at that particular place. Basically those are scientists, but then when those particular scientists are going to perform certain experimentation, there may be a time period on which there is no individual or scientist is available in that particular observatory, and in those particular cases there is a need for the automated instruments. Dekho, when we talk about these kind of harsh climatic conditions, sometimes the scenario might occur that it is comparatively not possible to provide or to take the individuals to that particular place. So there might be a chance that for those extreme situations that might have to run automatically. So in that case also the automated instruments are going to be housed in that particular Maitri 2 observatory. Now talking about the institution which is responsible for the deployment and also the technological support regarding these particular operations that we are seeing or the observatories we are seeing, it is the Goa-based National Center for the Polar and Oceanic Research, which is basically responsible for the operationalization of these particular observatories. So National Center for the Polar and the Ocean Research. Now this can be a very well prelims pointer that can be asked in the form of statement. Now which ministry it lies in? Ministry of Earth Sciences, which is the nodal ministry in this particular context. Now talking about the legal framework, because UPSC may ask a statement that India does not have any legal framework. In that case the answer will be wrong. Yes, India is having a legal framework which is the Indian Antarctic Act of 2022. See, when we are operationalizing our observatories or our missions in that particular region, obviously how those missions are going to be governed, what will be the procedures that are going to be followed, how the funding is going to be provided, all those things, if there is a statute, then basically there will be a clear framework for those particular operationalization. So that's why Indian Antarctic Act, that is there already since 2022, and there has been global commitments also. So since 1959, there is an Antarctica Treaty that was signed by 12 states, and later on it was signed by more than 50 states. So there is a treaty which is governing the Antarctica as the global common. This particular treaty says that there will be a global utilization of Antarctica, but not for the exploitative or the colonization related purposes, but for the global benefit, for the as a global common, because it is a common area where different countries are having their own research bases stations in order to study, in order to highlight and identify the important things with respect to the polar region, right? So India had joined this particular treaty in 1983. India became a consultative party to the Antarctic Treaty since 1983, and this was the year when Dakshin Gangotri was launched. Now, when we are talking about the Antarctica region, obviously we have to talk about in what kind of region it is. It is a continental region. It is a continent. So when we talk about the continent, it is the world's natural laboratory because of the extreme condition it provides. And different countries में when you go to the high peaks or certain kind of plateau region जहाँ पर there is a high kind of or the extreme climatic conditions are there. So the research that is done in the Antarctica can pave the way for the better development of technology or better habitation in those particular region. So it is the world's natural laboratory. That's why it is said like this, 5th largest continent. Day before yesterday we had discussed about Australia. Australia was the 6th largest continent. So in this particular case, was the smallest continent and the 6th largest country, but here the 5th largest continent. So Antarctica by its area, it is the 5th largest continent, understanding the earth, climatic and the ocean system, because whatever you are seeing over there, that can be even replicated in the extreme and the harsh kind of climatic conditions. Talking about the natural resources, obviously there are certain fish species which are able to survive in those extreme conditions. Those are found there also. Apart from that, nearly 75% of the earth's freshwater reserves. Now how the freshwater is going to get generated? Either there can be a glacier or there may be certain kind of, let's say, the underground, maybe certain reserves that are there, right? So in that particular cases, 75% of the earth's freshwater resources is there in the Antarctica. And when we are talking about that the glacier is melting in that particular cases, what is happening? That those particular glaciers ka water is getting flown into the seas or the oceans nearby, and that is causing the major issue. Next is the geopolitical significance. So whether it is about the territorial claim, whether it is about certain attempt to colonization in the name of doing certain research experiments, there are also attempt to colonize that particular territory. So this should be prevented. So that's why when it is being talked about as the global common, that should be prevented. And in the natural resources also, there are abundance of the edible algae and all. So these are different kind of biodiversity that is available over there. Now when we talk about the PYQs, there are questions comparing either about the Arctic or the Antarctica, and apart from that, even the India's or the country's interest in those particular region. For example, how do the melting of Arctic ice and the glaciers of Antarctic differently affect the weather pattern and the human activities? So you have to have an idea about the Arctic में glacier melt हो रहे हैं, उसका क्या impact है, and Antarctica में हो रहे हैं, how that is getting impacted. Why India is taking keen interest in the resources of the Arctic region. Now we have discussed the article regarding Antarctica, but yes, there can be even question regarding the Arctic in this particular context. You can draw a parallel in both these regions because there are certain similarities, there are certain differences also. The next article regarding the India's disease burden shift to the non-communicable diseases, NCDs, as per the global burden of disease report. Right. So when we are talking about the disease, basically general studies paper 2, which is having the topic like the governance of health, social justice, these are the important topic that UPSC can be concerned about, and UPSC can ask the question about this. Apart from that, GS paper 3 economy, as far as the development is concerned, environment, science and technology, right? Because when there is going to be impact on the health or education, these particular social things, so in that particular case, the education, health, all these can get impacted. So when it talks about the health related things, that is going to impact even the employment. If it is impacting education, it is going to impact the employment. That's why economy related things can also be related to this. Now, when we talk about the global burden of the diseases report, this particular report was released by the Institute for the Health Metrics and Evaluation. So Institute for the Health Metrics and Evaluation has released this particular report. Now what this particular report talks about, or what are the key findings of this report? Because see, hota kya hai, that as it is UPSC is not going to ask you a question about report, but when there is a question about the health, and if you are able to quote these particular pointers, this gives authenticity to your arguments, whatever you are writing in that particular answer. That's why having an idea about these pointers is important in that particular respective header. Unorganized data is not going to help you. You have to organize that particular data with the respective header. So when we talk about health, in the health also, there is a disease burden. In disease also, there can be communicable diseases, there can be non-communicable. When we talk about the non-communicable diseases, there are certain trends that are being provided. So those trends you can write. Like shift towards the NCDs, that means there have been from the communicable diseases to the non-communicable diseases. Now there has been a shift that is being observed. So when we talk about the reference point, which is from 1990 to 2023, the NCDs grew to overshadow the infectious diseases. Now see, when the country is comparatively lesser developed, there are very high chances that there may be communicable diseases because of the poor health, sanitation, lack of the health facilities, right? But when the lifestyle gets improved, that may lead to a lot of lifestyle related diseases, a lot of diseases which are not like spreading from one individual to another, but that is being caused because of, let's say, the lifestyle, because of the stress, anxiety, many other things are there, right? So in that particular cases, there is a shift that is observed from the communicable diseases to the non-communicable diseases. Now, obviously, we have seen the time period of the COVID-19 roughly from 2020 to 2022, jahan par there have been more focus upon the communicable diseases because it was one such. But this is a instance which we can say is not the regular pattern. Regular pattern mein there have been rise in the non-communicable diseases now. In that also, when you talk about, let's say, heart attack, when you talk about the stroke, when you talk about diabetes, these are the major issues as far as the issues concerned. Then there are chronic obstructive and the pulmonary diseases, COPDs are there. There is cancer, right? So these particular diseases are comparatively non-communicable, which are not getting transmitted from one individual to another, right? Apart from that, this report highlights the mental health disorder, and as mentioned by many such global experts who are having a comparatively great authenticity as far as the health domain is concerned, they have highlighted that this can become the next pandemic. When we are ignoring the mental health, when it is the stress, anxiety that is getting piled up, the way, the lifestyle we are living, right, it is going to create a pandemic like we have seen in the context of COVID-19. But that was a communicable disease, it will be a non-communicable one. But obviously, the issue is very much grave. So the anxiety, depression have shown the sharp rise from 2013 to 2023. So you can talk about that the decadal data shows that there have been a significant rise in the mental health related issues. Lastly, in this, the air pollution, which is also one such major issue, because when you talk about specifically the northern part of the countries, many such cities are under the grim shadow of the air pollution. When we talk about air pollution, it's not only that the air is getting polluted, even the life expectancy because of that is getting reduced. Because when you are getting exposed to a lot of pollutants in that particular air, then that particular pollutants might lead to the decreasing of your life expectancy or the year of living, right? So that is also one such top 3 causes of the early deaths. And even disabilities, maybe many a times it's not directly leading to the death, but it may cause the disability. That's why also this is important to understand. So at least 3 specific pointers you have got. Now you can quote these pointers as and when there will be a requirement, right? Now, when we talk about the non-communicable diseases, basically since it is non-communicable, that means it is not getting transmitted from one individual to another. So it is not passed from the person to person. Now, generally, since they are not communicable, they are not like the bacterial diseases and all, which can be transmitting from one person to another, or the viral. So basically they are the long duration because they are mainly concentrated based upon the health which is because of the lifestyle. Now, when the lifestyle is being shaped, it is taking a long period of time. Let's say you are getting exposed to a lot of junk food. So in that particular case, in the longer time period, there will be issue, right? So that's why the long duration and also the cause and the treatment is also not very less time period wala. It takes more time. When you are infected with virus or let's say the viral disease, maybe 2 days, 3 days, 4 days like this. But when it is diabetes, when it is the blood pressure or any other issues like this, let's say cancer, they can be even deadly, but the course of action takes a lot of time. Apart from that combination of, let's say, genetic, sometimes your genes are weak. That's why you are getting exposed to certain lifestyle diseases at the early age. Otherwise, it could have been done at the later age, right? Then the physiological. So in the case of the physiological issues, there may be certain issues because of the physical structure and others, right? Maybe environmental also, you are getting exposed to too much polluted environment that is causing your immunity weaken day by day. Apart from that, even the behavioral factor, when we talk about, let's say, the psychological or the behavioral factor, this is also going to cause a major issue, specifically in the context of the mental health. Now, when we talk about this, nearly 2/3 of the world's total mortality and the morbidity is now being caused by the non-communicable diseases. This is also one such very important data. You can say more than 60% of the disease burden for the mortality and the morbidity is from the non-communicable diseases. And this is the transition that we can say across the world that is going on. Now, when we talk about a lot diseases which are the lifestyle related diseases or the health concern or maybe the non-communicable diseases, obviously we have to alter the lifestyle. Now in lifestyle, obviously there will be certain physical factor, there will be certain physiological factor, there will be certain psychological factor, there will be, let's say, nutrition at the early life. All these factors have to combine together in order to improve the health scenario. So Eat Right movement, which was roughly launched in 2018 in order to ensure that there should be right food you consume, right kind of nutritious food, and apart from that, even the sustainable diet you should be taking, right? It was launched by FSSAI. Apart from that, Fit India movement, which also talked about the improving of the lifestyle, including yoga or certain kind of physical activities in your daily routine. Next is the National Tobacco Control Program. So many a time it happens that certain products you are consuming is going to get you in lot of trouble in the later part of your life. Let's say tobacco or the tobacco products like the cigarettes and all. So those particular products are going to cause a major issue. That's why National Tobacco Control Program, where the awareness, sensitization regarding the tobacco and tobacco product, and apart from that, even reduction of the production of these particular product have been emphasized. Then the National Program for the Prevention and Control of the Cancer, Diabetes, Cardiovascular Diseases and the Strokes, launched in 2010. Again, all of them are the non-communicable diseases. Clear? So basically these are the things that you should be having an awareness regarding the non-communicable diseases. Now, why these diseases are getting increased? Certain things we have talked about over here, and apart from that, you can have an idea now ki why these particular diseases are getting increased day by day. Okay. Now, in the case of the question related to that, as I have talked about, that you can expect the question and where you can put these particular data from the report. Next article is regarding the Research Development and Innovation Scheme. So there were guidelines and the special purpose fund for the RDI scheme that have been now approved. Now, when it is related to research, development and innovation, basically from the economy perspective, it is very important. From the science and technology innovation perspective, it is very, very important. So General Studies 3 is the topic which you can relate to, and since it is a government scheme which is focusing even towards the welfare, even talking about the economic governance, so you can also relate it to the governance GS paper 2. So these are the topics which you can relate to. Now talking about the special purpose fund for the research development and innovation. So since there have been the guidelines and the special purpose fund that have been approved now, so in that particular case, we have to understand that what is this particular special purpose fund for the research, development and innovation. So in 2023, there was this particular framework, which is the Anusandhan National Research Foundation, that was formulated, and this is now guiding the research development, even the private sector incorporation as far as the funding of the research and development along with the innovation is concerned. So this is the statutory framework now available with this. And apart from that, in this, there have been a body that was established, which is the Anusandhan National Research Foundation, that was formed under the aegis of this particular act. Now, in that particular body, there is an executive council also, which is being headed by the principal advisor of the government. Now, this particular body is responsible for a special purpose fund under the Research and Development and Innovation RDI. Right? So, there is a two-tier mechanism that we are going to discuss about. The first tier is about giving the fund to the special purpose fund, and then second tier mein this particular fund is going to devolve the amount to the respective project, let's say through special purpose vehicle and all, we'll discuss. So Anusandhan National Research Foundation Act, that was launched in 2023. Now, what is this? It is the apex body which is to provide the high level strategic direction for the scientific research. So not only funding, even direction with respect to that. For example, which areas to be focused upon, which are the new technologies or the emerging technologies jahan par there can be better private sector incorporation, what should be done in order to ensure the technology remain inclusive. So these particular areas have to be highlighted, and when they have been highlighted, now specific project jahan par development ho raha hai, they can include the private sector, they can include other parties, and then there can be a collaboration, right? So this ANRF, which was formed under the Anusandhan National Research Foundation Act, this is the apex body which is providing direction to the scientific temperament. So kahan par research karna hai, this is going to guide. Now previously there was a body which is known as the Science and Engineering Board, SERB, which was formed in 2008, again a statutory body which was formed in 2008. Now it is subsumed under the ANRF, and all this entire framework is under the aegis of Ministry of Science and Technology, Department of Science and Technology, Ministry of Science and Technology, right? So this is regarding the special purpose fund. Now see, what is special purpose fund? We'll talk about in the RDI scheme. Now this year only this was launched, RDI scheme. What this particular scheme was all about: research, development and innovation. As these three terms talks about, it supports the research, it talks about the new development with respect to the technological aspects, it also promotes the innovation. Now, what is this particular special purpose fund? It was created as the 1 lakh crore fund, right? So this is to provide funding to certain projects. Now, this fund is not going to directly invest in the project. It has created in the form of a two-tier mechanism. What is this? So Department of Science and Technology, as I've talked about, is the concerned or the nodal department. Now what is the funding structure? So jo special purpose fund banaya gaya, what this special purpose fund that is created, so that is lying in the tier 1. Tier 1 means when the government, let's say government is giving money, this government is giving money to the special purpose fund. Now this special purpose fund, let's say, have received the 1 lakh crore rupees as the money that was allocated. Now this is being managed by the Anusandhan National Research Foundation under this particular act, right? So it is going to support to seed, means to initiate any specific research, development, innovation. To grow means already going on research, innovation or development. To promote the research and development. So entirely, whenever any specific, let's say, agency is working upon that, this fund can be utilized in order to provide the financial support to that. Now, how that particular support is being provided? It is through the second level fund manager. So basically the money is there in the special purpose fund. Now that money is going to be provided to the special purpose fund manager, who are collaborating with the different projects. For example, funds from this special purpose fund to the long-term concessional loans. For example, let's say there are certain alternative financial institutions that are there. There may be There may be certain development financial institutions, there may be non-banking financial corporations are there. There are certain special purpose vehicle. Now let's say one of these is working towards artificial intelligence related some project. Maybe some is working towards the quantum computing or quantum engineering related things. So when these different projects are going on, there can be different mechanisms or different second tier body. These fund manager or the second tier bodies will receive the fund and these will be giving the funding to the projects. Now ऐसा ही नहीं है कि किसी भी projects को they are going to give money. They will give only money to those particular projects which are at the technological readiness level 4 or above. What is this technological readiness 4 or above? जहां पर they have at least in the lab tried and tested something. मतलब कुछ level तक you have achieved something, then only there will be funding that will be provided to you. Now, what kind of funding? This will provide up to 50% of the assessed project cost. मतलब ऐसा नहीं there is some bar, there is 50% तक project cost can be provided through these particular loan for the transformative research development and innovation related projects, right? So कितना दिया जा सकता है? 50% तक टेक्नोलॉजिकल रेडीनेस लेवल 4 और अबव प्रोजेक्ट्स को फंड किया जाएगा, राइट? नाउ देयर आर सर्टेन एक्सक्लूजन्स आल्सो व्हिच आर एक्सक्लूडेड. द ग्रांट्स और द शॉर्ट टर्म लोन्स आर नॉट सपोर्टेड. दिस इज गोइंग टू बी प्रोवाइडेड इन द फॉर्म ऑफ कंसेशनल लोन्स टू द लॉन्ग टर्म प्रोजेक्ट जिनमें पोटेंशियल है. सम थिंग्स यू हैव डेमोन्स्ट्रेटेड. नाउ if you want to work more upon those particular things, that is going to give you larger dividend in the long term. That's why right now the funding is being provided to that. So government is giving money to the special purpose fund and then it is providing that to the second level fund managers, right? So this second level fund managers जो कि long term concessional loans provide कर रहे हैं और are associated with the specific projects, right? So this is about the RDI scheme. Now what are the objectives of RDI scheme? So objectives are very simple. Basically in order to promote research development and innovation, so incentivize active private sector participation. Reason being कि भाई देखो, if government is supporting, let's say 50% funding is coming from here, now the private sector will also think कि देखो government is providing up to 50% funding, that means if I'll invest my money, that will not go in vain or that will not go waste, right? There will be some dividend that I'll also be able to achieve. That's why they are also going to participate in these particular projects. Next is promoting the strategic technologies including deep technologies like the dark web, deep web, quantum computing is there, many other new technologies are there where they can invest, right? So these are there. Apart from that, fostering the self-reliance and the economic security. देखो, one such issue with respect to the research and development as far as India is concerned is poor funding. देखो, government budget का जो aspect है, from that it is the data of the economic survey that roughly 0.7%. Now it might have increased a bit, but 0.7% of GDP we are investing on the research and development. Now when this particular funding is there and the European countries are giving more than 2-3% of their fund to the research and development, that is comparatively higher as compared to India, which needs this particular technology. That's why the focus on funding should be more. So the strategic or the economic reasons के लिए funding करना जरूरी है. Ensuring flexibility in the sectoral support for any additional sectors or the technology essential for the public. तो मतलब ऐसा नहीं कि only for robotics this is going to give or for nanotechnology. This can be for any specific major technological thing that can change the life of the people in a longer run, right? So this is regarding the objective of the RDI scheme. Now the PYQ obviously not related to exactly same scheme, but the scientific research in Indian university is declining. Obviously poor funding, because a career in the science is not as attractive as the business profession, engineering or the administration, and the universities are becoming the consumer oriented, critically common. That means universities are just producing like the graduates, right? Or those graduates who are having certain vocational skills, but the research, innovation, those things are to some extent lagging behind. That's why this question was asked. Next topic is regarding the Pradhan Mantri Dhan Dhanya Krishi Yojana, along with that mission for the Atmanirbharta in pulses have been launched. So already I think Pradhan Mantri Dhan Dhanya Krishi Yojana 3-4 times have already been discussed in these particular discussions, but still we'll discuss. And apart from that, recently launched mission regarding the Atmanirbharta in pulses, that is also one such budget related proposal of the government. Now from the perspective of UPSC General Studies paper 3, Indian economy and the agriculture, and there the issue related to direct and indirect farm subsidies, minimum support price, PDS, major crops, cropping pattern. This is a very important topic because the government and even UPSC is focusing a lot on the agriculture and the associated topics. Now there are 2 schemes that are being provided, that they are launched. So let's discuss one by one about these particular schemes. The first is regarding the Pradhan Mantri Dhan Dhanya Krishi Yojana. So Dhan Dhanya Krishi Yojana. Now there is already a program of government which is the aspirational district program or the Mahatwakankshi district program. What is this aspirational district? That means these districts have potential, but because of certain kind of historical issues, or maybe because of, let's say, the situation, or maybe their location and all, they are comparatively at the disadvantaged position. That's why to provide more focus to those districts in order to get themselves uplifted at the social, economic, political strata, and they can get comparatively better economic pedestal or economic opportunity in the country. Similarly, when we replicate this in the context of the agriculture, so in the agriculture, what are the issues? Whether it is about the productivity, that whatever yield we are expecting, that much yield is not there, or the productivity is not there. Apart from that, irrigation may issues hai. Apart from that, modern technological deployment may issues hai. Right? So when these particular issues are there, there are impact on the agriculture and the agricultural produce. That's why this particular scheme is launched, which is the Pradhan Mantri Dhan Dhanya Krishi Yojana. Now the time period is for 6 years, 25, 26 se 30, 31 tak, on the lines of the aspirational district. Now what in the aspirational district that have been done? There were certain district, they are identified, and then specific focus is being done on those particular backward district in order to improve health, education, sanitation, basic facilities. In this also, the coverage will be for the 100 districts, at least one from each state. एक minimum हर state से होना चाहिए. Financial outlay not that important, but yes, for the memory, just have an idea about that government has spent roughly around 24,000 crore. Now, what is the sectoral focus? बेसिकली कौन से एरियाज हैं जहां पर फोकस किया रहेगा? एग्रीकल्चरल एंड अलाइड सेक्टर का जो अंडर परफॉर्मिंग डिस्ट्रिक्ट है, दोज पर्टिकुलर डिस्ट्रिक्ट विल बी फोकस्ड अपॉन. Let's say in state A, there is a X district which is facing certain issue with respect to the yield, productivity, credit and all, right? And in that particular case, that particular district will be part of that. Now, what is the objective? As I have told about that, the objective is to enhance the agricultural production. Production को increase करना है, and along with that, the productivity should also be increased. Next is increasing the adoption of the crop diversification. Why? Because sometime what happens that, let's say you are just relying on the monoculture or monocropping. In that particular cases, let's say a disease starts in any specific crop, it destroys the entire crop of that region. If that is diversified crop, this particular situation can be prevented. Even apart from that, there will be nutrient recycling at that particular region only, because some crops might be utilizing those nutrients, certain crops might be replenishing those nutrients. So crop diversification and the sustainable agricultural practices, for example, you might be laying that particular land fallow for some, let's say one season, then you will be utilizing it again. Till that point of time, you will be utilizing the other patch, maybe two different type of crops at the same time, right? So like this, improving irrigation facilities. So whether about different new models of irrigation, maybe the drip, maybe certain other type of irrigation technologies can be utilized, right? Rather than just you are like filling or flooding that particular region with water. Long-term and the short-term credit. Another major issue, or I would say one of the most important issue that farmer faces, is lack of access of the formal credit system. That's why many such time it happens that after just the crop failure, there are high rates of suicide among the farmers. So the long term and the short term credit, in order to, let's say, if he or she want to increase the yield, that's why the investment is needed for that, the long term, for achieving certain short term goals or the financial gap that pertains, there is also need for certain short-term financing with respect to the agricultural things, right? Next scheme is the mission for the Atmanirbharta in pulse. So already there were certain schemes related to pulses that were there, but now government has focused specifically upon the pulses, and in that particular sense, a scheme of for 6 years, the same timeline 25-26 to 30-31. Now, as this is about the Atmanirbharta in pulse, that means about the self-sufficiency in the pulse. So there are certain pulses that are being identified and the focus is specifically upon that. So what kind of things make you Atmanirbhar in any specific thing? Obviously, you have to boost the production. You have to improve the yield. You have to be the self-reliant on that particular crop, and if possibility is there, you can even export those particular crop to certain other region. So for example, in this particular case, boosting the domestic production and Atmanirbharta. What is financial outlay? Again, 11,000 crore, not that important. Now the focus crop, yes. This is important because the UPSC may trick you with that all the pulses possible are part of it. The specific focus is on the tur, arhar or the pigeon pea, urad which is the black gram, and the masoor which is the red lentil. This specific focus has been provided on these 3 pulse crops. Now the pulses are also very important part as far as the crop diversification is concerned. And if you try to relate this article with the last article we have discussed regarding the non-communicable diseases, right? When we are talking about, let's say, the eating healthy things, right? And in that the pulses also play a very important role because they are nutrient rich. They provide a lot of macro and the micronutrient, let's say the proteins, vitamins, right? Now, talking about the target, there have been certain targets that are being focused upon. So, for example, area को increase करना है to 310 lakh hectare. So, where the pulses are being grown, so that area have to be increased to 310 lakh hectare. The production to 350 lakh tons. So, the production को increase करना है to 350 lakh ton, and also the productivity to 1130 kilogram per hectare. This is about the productivity of the pulses. So, these are certain targets. Obviously, factual hai, but yes, some idea you can take from this in order to highlight things in your answer. Now, what kind of approach is there? In the last article, Pradhan Mantri Dhan Dhanya Krishi Yojana, we have talked about that those particular district which are not performing well on the agriculture related things, whether it is irrigation, whether it is funding, whether it is any other thing with respect to agriculture, like let's say the production or productivity. Here the focus will be upon specifically on the pulses, and the focus is on the cluster based approach. Ab dekho, every region will not be facing similar issues for all the pulses. There may be some region which is having potential for pulses. Certain regions may be having certain issues which are specific to that region only. Maybe somewhere irrigation, maybe somewhere the farmer related skills, maybe somewhere the productivity or the, let's say, technology wala thing. So the cluster based approach will be there, and the intervention which will be done will be tailored to that region. ऐसा नहीं है कि सिर्फ one shoe fit for all approach we are going to provide over here. It will be a tailored approach specifically based upon that region ka thing. Now, lastly, देखो, one such issue with respect to any of the crop which is on which mainly the farmers are dependent, they think that what if the price crashes? What if we produce this much but this is not sold in the market? So here, in order to provide the assurance, the farmer are being provided with this assurance that the National Agriculture Cooperative Marketing Federation, NAFED, and the National Cooperative Consumers Federation of India, NCCF, they are going to procure 100% of the produce which is done under this particular mission. तो आपको घबराने की जरूरत नहीं है, MSP पे आपकी produce को purchase कर लिया जाएगा, right? So this is regarding the mission for the Atmanirbharta in the pulses, right? Now the previous year question, again from the agriculture perspective, multiple questions are there. Specifically these questions like core strategies for the transformation of the aspirational district in India, explain the nature of convergence, collaboration, competition. Why I have included this? Because like this, the question can be asked regarding Pradhan Mantri Dhan Dhanya Krishi Yojana, because that is based upon the aspirational district. So similar kind of comparison may be asked. Next is vulnerability of agriculture on the vagaries of the nature. Discuss the need for crop insurance, bring out the salient feature of the Pradhan Mantri Fasal Bima Yojana. So like this, the question can be asked regarding whether Atmanirbharta, because that can be asked by relating it with the export of the pulses or making India self-sufficient as far as the pulses is concerned. Last article in the detailed discussion is regarding the Global Land Outlook thematic report on the ecological connectivity and the land restoration. When we are talking about the ecological connectivity and land restoration, obviously these are the concepts which are relevant from the environment and ecology perspective, and GS paper 3 जहाँ पर environment, biodiversity, climate change, conservation, environment, pollution, degradation, then environment impact assessment, biodiversity, these are certain important topics with which you can relate this particular article discussion to. Now what this report is highlighting, so the report is launched recently in the ongoing conference regarding the World Conservation Congress which is going on in the Abu Dhabi, right? So we have discussed that certain articles in the previous discussions that India has also about to launch the program with respect to identifying its own species under the red data list, right? So apna khud ka ek directory India is going to prepare with respect to the species, and there are Botanical Survey of India and the Zoological Survey of India. These are responsible. So in the same conference, there have been now the report talking about the ecological restoration and the land related things. So what is the report? Report is being prepared by the United Nations Convention for Combating Desertification and the Convention for the Migratory Species, right? So they have prepared the report. Now what is this particular report? Report talks about the ecological connectivity. I'll give you the brief context. देखो basically क्या है, suppose करो if I am utilizing a piece of land, I'll make that particular land habitable. I need agriculture of food, I'll do agriculture, I'll produce certain crops. In that case, what is happening? Previously, there might be certain kind of wild plant that could have grown on that region, but I have tilled that land, and now basically whatever I am producing, that particular thing is going to get grown. Next, let's say there is a river which is going on. Now I needed water in order to consume. Till that point of time, I can utilize that flowing river. But if I want to produce the electricity, what I started doing? I started putting the dam. मतलब I have created a reservoir जिसको ऊपर area में बनाया गया, which is created at a higher area, and then I started opening the gate and then letting the water flow to the downward side and with the force, so that there will be electricity generation. This is the hydroelectricity generation. But then when I am damming this water, this is preventing the biodiversity of this region to flow to that region. That means I have stopped the natural flow of water. Similarly, whether the mountains are converted to the plains or the construction in the mountainous region, so everywhere the human beings are making world habitable, but in that process they are also altering this thing. मतलब the natural ecosystem जो था उसे alter किया जा रहा है, and that's why this particular terminology ecological connectivity is in news, which says that whatever the natural connectivity was there, that is the ecological connectivity. If you are going to disrupt that, that is going to create the disastrous consequences. Recently we had seen, whether it is with respect to the Uttarakhand, Himachal Pradesh or the Jammu and Kashmir, where the flood related issues were there, or any other place, let's say even in Delhi, the Yamuna ke jo flood plains hain, they are getting flooded roughly after every 1 or 2 years, because there have been a lot of construction, which used to be previously fallow land. Now we have done a lot of construction, and that's why there will be destruction that will be followed. Now, the terminology of ecological connectivity we have discussed. So it is the unimpeded movement of the species, including the flow of organism, energy, nutrient, water, sediment, information, knowledge, culture, etc. So when we are making it comparatively more humane, we are altering that natural flow, and this is impacting the ecological connectivity. Now there are certain successful models that are being created. For example, in the Europe, there is a European green belt that is being created. What is this particular green belt? This green belt is being provided from the Mediterranean region to the Baltic and further that particular region, jahan par there is a green corridor which is being done. Similarly, in the Costa Rica, there is the system of the wildlife corridor. So basically, these are certain experimental projects in order to ensure that the ecosystem should remain maintained. Whether it is the forest, whether it is the marine ecosystem, whether it is riverine ecosystem, these should be maintained so that there should not be the loss of the species who are dependent on that. Now, what are the major threats to the ecosystem? So first issue is mainly regarding the altered habitat. So as per the report, more than 60% of the world rivers are diverted or dammed. Now, diverted means when you are, let's say there is a river which is having high water flow and this river which is having comparatively lower water flow. What you will do? You are seeing that यहाँ पर बहुत flood हो जाते हैं. That's why what you are doing? You are doing the diversion of water from this to this. Now, previously there was a biodiversity which was thriving in this region because of the excessive rainfall or excessive water, but now when you are diverting this region, maybe a chance that this region ka biodiversity is going to get impacted. Apart from that, let's say you are doing the damming at this region, so आपने यहाँ पर water को रोक दिया. Now the water is not flowing naturally to the other region, so the biodiversity which was surviving in this region, now there is a threat to the biodiversity. That's why it is said that the more than 60% of the world's rivers are diverted or dammed, and that is impacting the biodiversity or the concept of ecological connectivity. Next is the infrastructure development, specifically the linear infrastructure. What are these? Suppose karo, there is a forest in this region. Now you have to develop a railway line. What you are doing? You are developing railway line from here. Now the train track is passing from here. Now this forest region now is divided into two parts, A and B. Now problem with this is that when the animals are going to cross from here, there may be an impact on that. And what kind of impact? Maybe they can hit by the infrastructure thing. Maybe let's say if it is an electricity project, they can be getting electrocuted, right? Apart from that, even you will be destroying the biodiversity in this particular region in order to develop infrastructure. So these linear infrastructure projects are going to impact. That's why you are seeing that whenever these linear infrastructure projects are being developed from any specific biodiversity rich area, this is going to cause the issues also with respect to the man-animal conflict and with respect to otherwise also. Now, what are the key recommendation in this case? The key recommendation is, as far as possible, try to ensure मतलब कि इंश्योरिंग द इकोलॉजिकल कनेक्टिविटी, जहां तक पॉसिबल हो उसे डिस्टर्ब ना करें. सो व्हाट यू कैन डू? सस्टेनेबल एग्रीकल्चर. फॉर एग्जांपल, whatever existing ecosystem is, try to utilize agriculture with the innovative techniques, maybe vertical farming, maybe hydroponics. These particular technologies can be utilized in order to minimize the land use and maximize the output, right? So the alternative technologies can be utilized. Next is the forest. So see, we are developing the artificial forest. Maybe like in the urban regions, we are developing the urban forest, but already there is a large chunk of forest across the world is getting degraded. So we have to ensure growing the new forest and along with that restoring that old one. ऐसा ना हो that all the naturally generated forest were gone and now we are just trying to create certain artificial forests, because many a time what happens, we are utilizing some crop, not crop, but some kind of like species of the plant which can spread very well and also at a very high rate, but that is not ecologically very suitable to that region. So that's also the major issue. So the assisted natural regeneration, that should be there in the case of forest. The techniques like, let's say, the Miyawaki technique, that can be utilized, right? Then water management. Now see, when we have talked about the example of Yamuna and Yamuna's floodplain, there is a need for the water management. So whether it is the project of diverting water from one river to another, it should not impact the ecological regions of that particular river. Apart from that, let's say the floodplains, groundwater recharge, these particular regions are there or techniques are there which can ensure the ecological connectivity along with that restoring that region. So the water management pe bhi focus hona chahiye. Then the enhancing ecological connectivity, we have to further ensure better ecological connectivity. For example, we can develop ecological corridor like the European ecological corridor and all, for example of Costa Rica. Management of invasive species. Now when we are altering this, ऐसा नहीं है कि fish, all fish species are same. There may be certain species which might be invasive. All the plant species are same. ऐसा भी नहीं है. Some may be invasive for any specific region or maybe exotic for any region, right? So that's why enhancing the ecological connectivity. Lastly, we also should ensure that the greening of the cities, for example, there should be urban forestry that should be developed. Apart from that, urban green corridors. You might have seen dividers jahan par there is plantation on the both sides of the road. There is plantation. It is giving you more and more oxygen. Apart from that, it is also ensuring the cooling effect. It will also reduce the sound pollution. So this is a win-win situation for all. So these are certain key recommendations that are being provided in this regard. So mainly the concept of the ecological connectivity and preventing the land degradation, these are the techniques that can be utilized. Clear hai? So the next is regarding the places in news, and in the places in news we have the article regarding the place which we have to cover is the Egypt. The capital of Egypt is Cairo, right? So Cairo is the capital city. Now the context is that India sends a minister to Egypt for the Gaza summit, like the peace summit for Gaza that have been announced, and for that there is India has sent the minister to Egypt. Now that it is situated, let's see the geography. So it is situated in the northeastern part of Africa, we can say. So northeastern Africa. On the west side it is Libya, on the south side it is Sudan. If we see east side, it is the Red Sea. Here it is the Gulf of Suez. ठीक है, सुएज कनाल लेटर ऑन यहाँ से सुएज कनाल पास होती है. Here towards Israel it is the Gulf of Aqaba, and here it is Red Sea. Now when you see the northeastern region, there is Israel, and in the Israel one another territory which is connected to Egypt is the Gaza Strip. So you can see Libya, Sudan, Israel and Gaza. Mediterranean Sea, yes, Mediterranean Sea is in the northern side. So Mediterranean Sea और northern side में यहाँ पर Nile flows like this, and Nile Delta is also available in the northern side. Major river कौन सी है? Nile, and there is Nile Delta available, and Nile flows from near region from the Cairo to the Mediterranean Sea. Where Nile makes the delta, it is in the Mediterranean Sea. Now there are major deserts also in this particular region, because there is effect of Sahara and the nearby climatic conditions of western desert, also known as the Al-Shara, and the eastern desert, which is also known as Al-Shara Al-Sharqiya, and the western desert is known as Al-Shara Al-Garbiya, right? So these are the two major deserts. When we talk about the highest peak, it is the Mount Catherine, which is the highest peak. So see, though you might think that for every country do we have to know all these things, the answer is no. But if there is any specific territory which is in news again and again, you can have a brief idea about this, and specifically for the important details which are provided in that. So जो I have talked about, I have given you an idea about the geography, उतना जानना आपके लिए ज़रूरी है. Okay, so with this we have covered the major articles. Now let's discuss certain quick updates briefly. First in this is regarding the Titu Island. So Titu Island is basically a part of the Spratly Island. Now this region which you are able to see is the region of the South China Sea. Now this South China Sea is a major hotbed for the conflict between China and the nearby country, because China claims this particular region by the claims of the 9-dash line, or many such territories are being claimed by China. For example, this entire Spratly Island, then there is Paracel Island also. There is another territory or the island territory which is known as the Scarborough Shoal, which is the territory of Philippines but under the illegal occupation of China. So like this, China claims a lot of territory. So in the recent context, why we are talking about the Titu Island? Because the Chinese ship and the Philippine vessel collided near this particular island. Now who is controlling presently this Titu Island? It is controlled by Philippines, but China claims this island. Now Titu Island or the Pagasa Island is the largest Philippine occupied island in the Spratly Island, South China Sea. So it is the part of the Spratly Island chain, South China Sea mein, controlled by Philippines. This much is important to understand. Question कैसे पूछता है UPSC? How UPSC asks the question? They will ask that recently it was in news. Why? This much, right? Next is regarding the Durand line, right? So now you are about to see the repeated utilization of this name again and again, the Durand line. So this is the line which is following from this particular region of Baluchistan to the entire region, marking the boundary or the border between the Afghanistan and Pakistan. Now, though it is an international line, Afghanistan never recognized this Durand line as the line of division between the Afghanistan and Pakistan. Now, this line of 2,640 kilometer was established in 1893. At that point of time, it was between India and Afghanistan, British India and Afghanistan, and later on it became the de facto boundary between the Afghanistan and Pakistan. Who were the people? Sir Henry Mortimer Durand and the Amir who was the head of Afghanistan at that point of time? Abdur Rahman Khan. They have agreed upon, but later on the governments of Afghanistan denied any kind of accession to this particular agreement. Now recently there have been a conflict going on in this particular region about the Durand line and also the claims of Afghanistan in this territory. Why? Because see, this particular region which is dividing the Pashtun tribe, right? So the Pashtun tribe and even the Baloch tribe, they reside across this region, and when this line was divided, the population kuch wahan rehti hai opposite side in Afghanistan, some resides in the Pakistani territory, and that's why they claim ki bhai this entire region is ours. Entire Pashtun tribe habited region is part of the Afghanistan. So that's why there is a conflict going on. Then Pakistan attacked Afghanistan through the airstrike, and in retaliation Afghanistan also attacked many such posts of Pakistan. That's why there is a conflict going on, and that's why you will see this particular term again and again, which is Durand line. Next is regarding Austro-Hind. So this is a basically military exercise between Australia and India. Australia, Hind, India. So the fourth edition of the Australia-India joint military exercise began in Australia. Whenever there is any military exercise from the UPSC perspective, generally UPSC asks about the country. They do not even go into the details like which country it is getting hold. But हाँ, एक point है कि आपको पता होना चाहिए. You should know something about that this is being held in Australia. Annual exercise hai. Why these exercises are there? Capacity building, learning the best practices, interoperability and all, right? So the military cooperation, improving interoperability, right? So Austro-Hind. Like this, for these very factual things, you can make a separate pager. दो pages में all the military exercises which were there in news because of any reason, that particular thing you can mark or highlight. Next is regarding the New Delhi Declaration on 6G. So the leading 6G alliances, research and the research institutes have issued the New Delhi Declaration. Where it was issued? It was issued during the International Bharat 6G Symposium. Now, International Bharat 6G Symposium, which held in New Delhi, along with the India Mobile Conference, and there this New Delhi Declaration was accepted. What is this New Delhi Declaration? It emphasized that the 6G technology should be developed as a public good, means all should be having equal access. ऐसा ना हो कि only those which are the developed countries which is having comparatively better control over technology, they should guide all the countries, but there should be equal access for all the countries which are even not that much developed. It is for the shared vision of 6G that prioritizes openness, inclusivity and the sustainability, and this is in concurrence with the India's vision which talks about that all the technological development should be inclusive. ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए कि the countries of global south should be left out, right? Now the 6G, which is the 6th generation wireless technology, which is the advanced version over 5th generation wireless technology. So there was 1G, 2G, 3G, 4G. Right now it is at 5G, and there is the 6G which is at the developmental and the research stage. So every generation में there have been more focus towards the improving the data speed, reducing the latency, means जब आप कुछ input डालते हैं, in what amount of time you are getting the output, that is the latency. So that reduce करना है. Integration, communication, sensing capabilities, these will be comparatively enhanced with the 6G as compared to 5G technology. Next is regarding virtual museum of the stolen cultural objects. So you know that many such countries were under the colonial powers, जहाँ पर colonial powers have basically taken out a lot of monument. You have seen that in the British Museum, many such things which were stolen from India are kept right now, right? So like this has happened with every country which was colonized by the major colonial powers. But many such time it happens that it's not by the colonial power, but even by smuggler, by the thieves through other routes that reach to other countries. Now, in order to highlight those particular things which are important from the cultural context, the virtual museum of the stolen cultural object is being formed. So it is under the aegis of UNESCO, as the world's first virtual museum for the stolen cultural object, and where it was launched at Mondia Cult 2020, Mondia Cult 2025. So Mondia Cult 2025 क्या? It is the world's largest conference on the cultural policies. It is under the aegis of UNESCO. Now, obviously, it is going to utilize the advanced technologies in order to highlight those products without actually having those products. मतलब either the the 3D projection or maybe the utilization of the exact similar kind of things, even you can get a virtual tour and all, right? So like this, it displays around 240 stolen objects right now from 46 country. Later on it may be increased also, and as and when those things, let's suppose कि एक product India से लेके is now being displayed in UK. Now this particular museum right now it is being displayed, but maybe a chance in future that product comes back to India, so that will be removed from here, from the virtual museum, right? So from India, 2 9th century sandstone sculpture from the Mahadev temple, Pali, Chhattisgarh, these are included. So these are Nataraj, Lord Shiva का cosmic dance है, and the Brahma sculpture which is seated in the Lalitasana, representing the wisdom and the creation. So these two are included in the virtual museum of the stolen cultural objects. Where it was launched at the Mondial Cult, which is the world's largest conference on cultural policy. Next is regarding the IUCN ka World Heritage Outlook. Whenever there is any specific report, you have to have an idea about which particular agency is releasing. Here in this case, it is the UNESCO which is releasing this World Heritage Outlook. So it is part of the broader UNESCO's World Heritage Site. Now in the World Heritage Site, it can be natural, ठीक है? It can be even basically your mixed site. It can be even the cultural side. So if it is a natural or mixed, that means it is basically including the biodiversity environment. In that case, it talks about World Heritage Outlooks, talks about the study of that at what level of preservation that particular site is. So for example, IUCN World Heritage Outlook 4 report, which assesses the conservation status of the natural and the mixed heritage site, which was released by the IUCN. Who has released? IUCN. Which sites? Natural and the mixed heritage sites of the World Heritage Site. Sites with a positive conservation outlook has for the first time reduced, ठीक है? So for the first time decreased significantly. That means जो जहाँ पे improve हो रही है situation, those sites got decreased and the sites का concern ज़्यादा बढ़ रहा है, right? So in India, the Kanchenjunga National Park is the only site which is that good in terms of the natural and the mixed site. But apart from that other site, like say Sundarban, it has deteriorated from the good with some concern to the significant concern. So Sundarban comparatively declined as far as the conservation is concerned. Apart from that, similar is the issue for the Manas National Park and the Western Ghat, which is also in the significant concern category. World Heritage Outlook 4 report by IUCN, natural and mixed heritage site. For the first time, the positive conservation site got decreased and there are concern wala sites got increased. India में कौन सा sites है which is positive right now as per this? Only the Kanchenjunga National Park, right? Next is International Blue Flag certification. So 5 Maharashtra beaches received the prestigious Blue Flag certification. So Srivardhan, Nagaon, then Parnaka, then Guhagar and the Ladghar, which are included in the Blue Flag certification. So it is basically a ecological certification of the beaches or the maritime diversity, which highlights that there are certain important things or the conservation which is going on in that region, and that region is performing well on those particular parameters. So it is awarded by the Foundation for Environmental Education, FEE, of Denmark since 1985. It is not new, right? There are 33 criteria including cleanliness, beauty, environmental sustainability, based upon which any specific beach can be considered as the Blue Flag certified beach. Now what is the benefit? Basically, if that beach is Blue Flag certified, obviously it is going to get more recognition as far as the international community is concerned. Globally recognizing eco label hai for the beaches, marine and the tourism boats. Rigorous requirement, matlab the region should fulfill these things. For example, areas of accessibility, education, environmental performance, responsible behavior, safety, services, stakeholder engagement, water quality. These should be fulfilled in order to get these kind of recognition. Next is regarding Indian wolf or the Canis lupus pallipes, right? So this has been included in the IUCN का जो categorization है उसमें specifically, right? So IUCN for the first time evaluated Indian wolf separately as a potential distinct species. So previously there were total 7 species of wolf. So now that has been 8th recognized species in this particular genus Canis, right? So habitat क्या है? Now whenever the species is there, either their conservation status or habitat, which region they found. So generally it is found in the thorny forest, scrubland, arid and the semi-arid regions of India. Sometimes even in the Pakistan also some population is observed. Now they are the common large carnivore, means mainly they are having the non-veg meals, right? And apart from that, agro-pastoral regions of the semi-arid India में पाए जाते हैं. As per IUCN, it is categorized as vulnerable category, right? Threats क्या है? Habitat loss, conflict with the humans and the disease. So see, human-animal conflict is one such common issue. Whenever there is developmental project, there will be human-animal conflict, right? So this is regarding the Indian wolf. The category is vulnerable. Common large carnivore है. कहाँ पाया जाता है? Thorny forest, scrublands, semi-arid and the arid region, India and some territory of Pakistan also. 8th recognized species of this genus. Last is Kenton R. Miller Award. So recently the Kaziranga director जो है, she became the first one in India to receive the IUCN's Kenton R. Miller Award for the innovation in national park. So Kenton R. Miller was the former director of IUCN, the previous director, right? So on her name, on his name, basically this award was instituted and it was got by the Kaziranga director, and it was for the first time the Indian got this award. So World Commission on Protected Area is the concerned authority which provides this award, right? So World Commission on the Protected Areas. Now this is one such 6 commissions में से one such commission it is in order to of the IUCN. ठीक है, तो एक one of the technical commission है. It was established in 2006 for the innovation in the national park and the protected area. So why this award is being provided? For providing the innovation and the sustainability in the protected area. For example, if that region is designated as the national park, or let's say any protected area, and if there are certain good things that you are doing better conservation, if you are doing certain innovative technology deployment and all, then you are eligible for this particular year. It is presented every 2 years by IUCN WCPA, World Commission for Protected Area, right? So this is regarding the Kenton R. Miller Award. So with this, we have completed the news today discussion for the 12th and the 13th of October. Now there must be obviously certain question that will be on your screen. I have also asked certain question during the discussion. You should also post the answer to that in the comment section. And also whatever I have discussed, I have tried to comprehensively cover those things. Even I have told you the application. So I hope that discussion might be beneficial for you from the prelims as well as from the means preparation perspective. Also visit this particular site in order to get more about the current affairs. Thank you.